On this trip around the county, we take an inside look on how the pandemic has impacted our local humane society and meet the heroic survivors of World War II. All of this and more on this trip around the county.
And I'm Noah Weaver. On Around the County, we take you to places you may have never been and introduce you to people you may not know. Animal shelters across the country have had to adapt to the recent challenges from the pandemic. Producers Nina Scroggin and Hannah Hyatt take an inside look at Hamilton County Humane Society's Pandemic Pets.
President of Lendapaw. I actually joined last year just for fun, and then ended up being offered the position by the founder. And I've been super excited to be leading this year. It's been a little challenging, but we've gotten a lot done. I think we've gotten a lot accomplished to help animals in the county and in the state. Depending on the shelter, there have been benefits and downsides to the pandemic. I know that Humane Society for Hamilton County, their adoption rates have gone up, but their volunteer rates have gone down. So for them, it has become more and more difficult to kind of accomplish operational support needs that they have, like laundry, washing dishes, making sure animals are fed. Stuff like that is a little more difficult when there's a changing population of animals and not enough people to care for them.
The Hamilton County Humane Society is a nonprofit, no-kill shelter that rescues animals and helps them find their forever homes. Challenges have been met with the global pandemic.
Our volunteer base is about 400, but we have had a lot of volunteers who, due to safety reasons and the pandemic, haven't been able to come in.
Kathy Kusler, a longtime volunteer at the Humane Society, explains how people can help.
You know what, if you love animals, coming and dealing with animals, dogs or cats, that is always welcome. Certainly donations, support. The Humane Society can use just about anything and everything, donations of goods and monetary. They can use help. Anybody is willing to give any time, any effort, any funds they would.
Well, right now, since it's been difficult to do stuff in person, we've done a lot of social media campaigning. So we have an Instagram, we've been posting there. We've been working with somewhat the news to kind of raise awareness about the club and to raise awareness for the projects that we were doing.
Lendapaw is a club at Noblesville High School that helps shelters with donations and volunteers.
Right now we are working on a poster campaign that we are going to be putting up around the school that highlights the longest residents of our partner shelters, so we can hopefully get some of those animals adopted. We're currently working on a poster campaign that's going to go up next week. But aside from that, we run donation drives, we work on meetings to create things that can be donated to our partner shelters. So we're working hopefully on a craft project soon that we can donate. Aside of just the material items that we do in the poster project that we're working on, we also try to raise awareness and encourage people to volunteer. So the club does an incentive program to get our members volunteering. And we think that that's been really influential in helping our partner shelters have people available for their needs.
Macy Mill Spa and Kathy Kusler also describe more ways to help shelters in your area.
There's just so much that anyone can do. Humane Society for Hamilton County is always accepting item donations and monetary donations, and then Indie Great Pyrenees Rescue does basically the same. And then there's also other things that people can do outside of volunteering, strictly inside of the shelter. If your family has room to foster an animal, that's always awesome. I foster, it's so rewarding. And if you have even just a spare amount of time to share a post or to take a picture of a poster and share it with your friends and help animals get adopted, all of that is so important, even if you don't have the time to volunteer.
That if you're willing to give dogs and cats a home, it's incredibly important, because I love the animals, so much, and you get attached, and when you get to see them actually go to a home, totally guacamole, it's the best.
And final question, if you could give one message to the public, what would you say?
I would say adopt them. I'm a huge advocate of that. We have from a rescue, before I started here, we have a litter mate, puppies that we adopted at 8 months old, and all of our dogs have been rescue dogs. There's so many dogs in the pipeline, so many, and they all need homes. So come here, don't go to any stores to get your cats and your dogs. Too many waiting for a home.
As the world goes on and more generations are born, lessons are passed down, formed from the experiences of previous generations. Producer Ian Gordon-Smith dives in deep to the phenomenon as he observes the impact the World War II generation has on both global and individual scale.
About those who lived through the Depression and World War II are commonly heard, but rarely do you hear stories about the lives of the generation born afterwards. One such person to live in the seemingly undocumented generation is Richard Kress. Kress grew up at a very unique time in history, the recovery period after the Second World War.
My father was drafted into the Army in 1942, and he was discharged after World War II was over in 1945. When he was in the Black Forest, especially at night, he said you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And he said that was pretty scary, and that the Germans used to crawl around and get into people's foxholes, and they'd kill Americans. So anytime they heard any slightest noise, they would all swing their bayonets in front of them because they couldn't see anything, and just ensure that somebody wasn't sneaking up on them.
More often than not, those that came back from the war, like Chris's father, were affected in some ways physically and some ways mentally.
He never spoke too much about World War II. I think it was just too painful for him to think about much.
I think the war made him very, very tough. After all, if a person spends 4 years living out in the open, town to town, sleeping in the rain, sleeping in the mud and the snow, and trying to figure out how you're going to eat and what food you're carrying on your back, would make anybody tough.
The Depression was tough on us. Besides living in a farm area, we lived in a coal mining area. I'd say the Depression lasted until near 1950, and we started coming out of it when the boys came back from the Second World War, and on the GI Bill, went to agricultural college, learned how to farm better, and then the whole area picked up.
The war not only affected these people's parents, but also how they grew up under their guidance in a post-World War II world.
My father found work at a factory in Indiana for a while, and later moved to Illinois, where he found work at another factory making glass bottles, where he was able to buy a home and raise his family. The government passed the GI Bill, which provided money for the veterans to help them buy farms, to help them buy homes, and to actually help them get an education.
Growing up in these differing eras led to similarities and differences in how these people and their parents lived.
Well, my upbringing was certainly different than my father's. For example, my father, he only had a 6th grade education, and his mother died at birth when he was born. So his family split up, and he was given to his aunt to raise. When my father was a boy, growing up, they didn't have running water. They used outhouses. They pumped water from a well, brought it inside. They put wood or coal in the standalone stoves to keep warm. We both left home at an early age. He left home at an early age because he was drafted to fight World War II, and I left home right after high school to go into the Navy. We both got married and raised families.
Each generation learns from the one prior.
There were some amazing events that really had a huge impact on how our country is today.
My father taught me a lot of lessons. But to summarize them, I guess, respect your elders, learn as much as you can and never stop learning, work hard, be honest, stay strong, and help others. Basically, use the golden rule every day. That's what he taught me.
That's all for this episode of Around the County. I'm Nolan Weaver.
And I'm Hannah Hyatt. Join us next time for another trip
Around the County.